Hey everybody, it's Marcia from Everything Wine and More in Sherwood Park, Alberta. If you don't already know me, I am the vintage room manager here at the store, and I get to do these fantastic virtual tastings with you. And I haven't seen you for a couple weeks, but I'm happy to be here again today. And today we are discussing prosecco. It's one of the things that I really love. Prosecco sometimes gets a really bad rap, but I personally love it. It's easy to drink. It's versatile. It's great for the patio. We have some warm weather coming up, hopefully, springtime. It's great for mixing. In fact, it makes one of my very favorite aperitivo from Italy, the Aperol Spritz, and it really represents good value. So today I'm going to be speaking to Laura Dassie from the Ruggeri company in Valdobbiadene in Veneto. So I see that she's here. I'm going to ask her to come and join me here. Let's see. Laura, you can ask to join me. I see that you're there. So please ask to join my, here we go. There we go. There she is. Away. And we're going to talk about all things Prosecco. It's going to be very exciting. And we've got 4 Ruggeri here to actually taste, 3 for sure. And we are going to talk about one more very special Prosecco a little later on in the day. There's Laura. How are you?
Ciao, how are you?
Good, good. Ciao. It's nice to meet you.
Yes, fine. I've been hearing about you a lot, so all over the Facebook and also from a lot of friends that we probably have in common.
Yes.
And so nice meeting you, and thank you for being such a great fan of Prosecco. We need people like you, so thank you. Grazie.
Yeah, of course, my pleasure. As I was saying earlier, I think Prosecco gets a really bad rap, but when you have a good quality Prosecco, it makes all the difference in the world. And I'm a big proponent of good quality Prosecco. And I'm very excited to be talking about Ruggeri today. So thank you again for joining me.
Of course.
And if anybody watching out there has some questions, please feel free to ask, and myself or Laura will be happy to answer them for you. Let's talk about the history of Ruggeri first, Laura. This is a famous family of the region, perhaps one of the original families. So tell us how long Ruggeri has been in the game and around.
Well, Ruggeri, it's one of the oldest family winery, let's say, because the Ruggeri family is no longer part of the company. But Ruggeri has been in the Prosecco world since the very beginning. So I'm talking about right after the Second World War, and we are talking about the late 40s, and the company was actually founded in 1950 by our founder Giustino Bisol. That was, you have to consider that Valdobbiadene is a very agricultural, very rural area. So at that time it was even, let's say, worse. They didn't have electricity, water, so you have to imagine to start a company. So it was a winery, so it was a big deal. And this guy made it. So we were one of the, I think, among the first 5 to start the Prosecco in the sparkling version. Because, you know, Prosecco can also be still, it's not that popular, but in the area at that time it was very popular. And so you need to have all the, you know, the capacity and whatever you need to make it sparkling. So Ruggeri was one of the very first. And why we call it Ruggeri, and because the family, the founder, was the idea of founding the company came from Giustino Bisol. Then together with his cousin, Luciano Ruggeri, they built the company together. So let's say Ruggeri was more into the production, into following vineyards and you know, that part of the business. And Giustino was more the commercial guy of the company. So the two of them really built a good business together. And that's how everything started. But again, I'm talking about the late 40s. So now it seems like ages ago, and actually it is ages ago. But so that, and again, were one of the first to start the prosecco in that kind of fashion, let's say, because
Yes.
there still are a lot of smaller farmers that still just cultivate the vineyards, but they don't have all the structure to, you know, to do the sparkling style.
Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting. I think there's maybe some confusion, you know. So Giustino Bisol, and of course Bisol is another big prosecco company in the area. So I'm sure it's very confusing for people.
That is why we have to name the company Ruggeri, because Bisol, that
Yep.
has also been for quite a long time, they were there before Giustino Bisol. So we had to say, okay, guys, you
Yes.
were first. So we use the name Ruggeri. And Ruggeri is also a very popular last name in the area. But at that time, it was called with that name. So we used the last name of Luciano. And we still carry that name because now everybody knows the company as Ruggeri. Even when they think about Ruggeri, they know it's Bisol family. So that's
Yeah.
but that's the way it is.
Yeah. So we know that that land is quite a premium in Valdobbiadene, in that area. So how much land under vine, how much area under vine does Ruggeria actually have in the area?
Okay, let's say we own a good part of in the Cartizze area. That is a super small area inside Valdobbiadene. And in Valdobbiadene, we basically work with growers. We don't own personally vineyards or just a very small part, but the most of the juice, let's say, of the grapes comes from the growers. And with these growers, we are like family. They are giving us their grapes for generations. And Paolo, that is Giustino Bisol's son, is still taking care of all the relationships, because you have to know that Valdobbiadene, as I told you, is very rural. It's basically a village. It's calling it town. It's maybe too ambitious. It's still a village, and it's an old style, but that is the way that it should be, because that is the characteristic of the older village. Otherwise, everything is going to be the same. So Paolo is really following all the growers, and it's not just, okay, we have growers, we don't care, they give us the grape, and that's it. We take care of all the growing. So our agronomist and our staff goes there to follow everything from the very beginning until the harvest. So, and it's a lot of work. It's like basically that the vineyards belong to Ruggeri. But it's a very, it's a treasure, let's call it that way. To have this system, this method is so traditional, and it's really like a big treasure to have, because now I doubt everybody is still doing what we do, because it's much easier to go and buy the juice or buy the wine. But since we know, and as you say, that the quality is important, we have to take care of everything from the very beginning until the collecting of the grapes into the winery. So it's a long process, but at the end, you know what you are working with. So
yeah, and like you said, in the end, it's all about the quality, and you know, I always say you get what you pay for. You know, so I have this up in beside our prosecco section in the store, and I actually refer people to it a lot. And I tell them, you know, like you're only going to spend a couple more dollars to get some prosecco in this area as opposed to down here. So why not get something that has that level of quality? You know, we're talking about this, you know, seeing that Valdobbiadene on the label, and along with the DOCG label. That's really an important idea of quality for these wines. So I really stress that to people. I'm like, look for, I sell a lot of Gelo Oro actually, because I tell people how the quality is compared to some other Prosecco that's in that, you know, that, those bottom DOC tiers. And, you know, there's a lot of Prosecco out there. There's a lot in the market. And yeah. So you have to differentiate yourself a lot, and I think that Ruggeri really has done that. So let's talk about the Jello Oro right now, Laura. So we've got this golden triangle on your label, so part of your symbol of quality. So tell our viewers what this means.
So the triangle is like, say, the logo of Ruggeri, and it's the special triangle of the, let's see if I have something to show you, the triangle of the area of Valdobbiadene. So it's like a small triangle, and that wants to represent the heart of the Prosecco. So Valdobbiadene is the heart of the Prosecco di OCG, and it's basically looks like a triangle. The image wants to link to the area and to show that it is a small region, but this is the true and traditional and real area for the Prosecco di OCG. So we want to. It's like it's becoming the logo of the winery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's fantastic, and it's again that it's association of that logo with Ruggeri, and again that level of quality. So of course Prosecco, for many of you who are watching, the grape actually used to be called Prosecco, which again causes some confusion, and now we're talking about the grape Glera that goes into this is mostly Glera, with some other grapes, indigenous grapes of the region going into this. So let's talk about Glera for a moment, Laura. And why is Glera such a fantastic grape for making Prosecco?
Because Glera is a very it's a very delicate grape, because the skin is very soft. It needs a lot of attention during this time of the year. But it's so delicate that at the end, what you get from the Glera is a very easy drinking and fresh product. Yes. And this is the whole point of the Prosecco, is the freshness. It's a very fruity grape. It's let's say it's an easy grape in a way, and an easy grape you make an easy wine, and this is the point of the Prosecco, because Prosecco is a very easy and drinking sparkling wine, and this is how it is been forever. So the Glera reflects, the Prosecco reflects really what the Glera is. So very soft, very thin skin, very fresh, and very easy. Let's say it's that is the Glera, the typical.
We have Prosecco, of course, spumante, so full sparkling. I know that Ruggeri also makes some frizzante as well, but just, of course, Prosecco should be in the spumante level here. And other than the Glera, we have little tiny bits of Paradiso, Bianchetta, and Pereira. Am I correct for the Jello Oro?
Yes, that is a little bit of addition of other grapes that grown in that area, because with Prosecco you can use 85% is allowed by the disciplinare.
Yes.
So the books, let's call it the book of the rules. You can use 85% minimum and 85% of Glera, and the 15% extra has to be still local grapes. So it's basically Verdiso, Pereira, and Bianchetta. Usually are those three grapes that you can add to the Glera. Let's say that most of our Proseccos are 100% Glera now.
And I think many of the quality producers are using just 100% Glera.
Yes.
I love the...
And it's sparkling, so, it's with a Chardonnay fermentation.
Yes. Martina. Yeah. So I have to thank Susan and Barb Joachim from WineQuest for bringing these fabulous wines in here, and for Susan for providing the samples for us to talk about today. So just for those of you watching, Jello Oro right now is on sale for $24.69. That's amazing. It's regular $28.99. And I also have to give Susan a shout out, because when I was taking my my diploma and when I was studying Italian wines, just thinking about prosecco, and she's like, always look for the white peach, always look for the white peach, because white peach is going to be prosecco every time. And so I always get those really lovely notes of white peach in a
Yes.
prosecco. And that, my friends, is a Bellini. You know, you mix the the prosecco with white peach juice, and you've got yourself a Bellini. So that's just something, you know, just a little FYI there. So
Yeah, people like mixology these days. So
yes, yes, um,
Teloro, it's because you say very well that sparkling frizzante Teloro is an extra dry. So
yes,
all the history, the story of the residual sugar and being an extra dry is the something in the between. So not the too sweet, but not the too dry. That is, I know it's confusing because you say extra dry and you think it's extra dry, but it's not that way. So it's in the between of the dry and the
the
sweet.
brut. Yeah. And you know what, that's, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to talk about the sweetness levels of prosecco, and it is very confusing because you know, people say to me, well, I want a dry prosecco, and I said, okay, well then you're looking for brut. If you're wanting to mix it with something, try an extra dry. And they're like, no, I want dry. And I'm like, no. Dry is actually the sweetest level of prosecco, and brut is the driest. So it is very confusing, but that's why, you know, there's people like me that can explain it to people. So very important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just going to open up. We're going to talk about the Pinot Brut right away here, Laura.
Yeah.
But while we're doing that, let's talk about you know, the time it takes to you know, you do all the picking by hand for all
Correct.
of the grapes.
Yeah, that is very mandatory from the consorzio that the grapes have to be harvested, and that is it's a funny part of the job. I'm just saying funny to be sarcastic because it is a nice moment because, as I told you before, it's a very family area, Valdobbiadene, and you see generations of people owning the same vineyards, and but it's a very hard work. And I did once, and I didn't want to do it again because at the end of the day, my legs were trembling because you need to find the right balance between the slopes, the cut, the cluster. In the meantime, it's like to be, you know, I don't know, to do, it's a very good exercise, believe me, but at the end, it's very tiring. It's fun though, because you share this moment. That's also the point of harvesting by hand,
Yeah.
because these days that we have a less human relationship, the vendemmia, it's really a great moment because you see old people like Nonno that is harvesting Zia, then we have other friends that then at the end of the harvest, the best moment is the dinner. Everybody has to celebrate, you know, the harvest. It's a tradition.
Yeah.
But in Valdobbiadene, everything has to be by hand. So while the DOC, there is also different land. It's more flat. It's bigger, so they can use machine. But in Valdobbiadene, and especially in Cartizze, it's all by hand. And believe me, it's an experience.
Yeah. Wow, I would love to. I would love to sometime. I would love to come and see and be a part of that. And you know, I think about you know, Germany and those really steep hills, you know, in the Mosel, and probably very similar as far as, you know, maybe not quite as much in Valdobbiadene, but you know, that real workout, as you say, making sure you keep balance on those slopes.
No, some part, especially the oldest part of the Valdobbiadene region, and you go Sacol, Santo Stefano, that tiny small villages, believe me, the vine that part are very old, are very close one to the other. So
Yeah.
you have to find the balance, and you need to use the buckets to collect the grapes, and then with a rope, they go up and down. It's
Yeah.
an experience, absolutely a nice experience.
Yeah, for
So
sure. Yeah.
that,
Okay.
that's the value of the Valdobbiadene. That's why it's a lot of human work. It's a lot of hard human work, and but only I see people when I explain this. It's one thing. When they come to the area and see the region, that is like, you know, the light that
The light
comes out.
bulb? Yeah. Yes, yes, yes.
Why? And this is
Yeah. Okay,
the
so next we're going to talk about the Rosé de Pinot Brut.
yeah.
So this is interesting because there has been a new development in Prosecco land. Now there is a DOC for Prosecco Rosé. However, this does not fall within those rules. So the Prosecco Rosé DOC. Let's talk about that. What must be a part of it to be called Prosecco Rosé DOC?
Yes. Prosecco DOC Rosé, it's new. Well, they were been talking about making a Prosecco Rosé for a couple of years, but you know, in Italy things take a little bit slow. So at the end, because you need to have a lot of steps. So you need the first process, second process. So at the end, all the steps were aligned, and let's say we were allowed to produce the Prosecco and to sell it export starting from November.
Yeah.
So it has to be also 85% of glera. And while in this case, the bottle you have in your hand is Pinot Nero because it's not Prosecco. So, but to be called Prosecco, you need to have 85 glera and 15% of Pinot Noir.
Pinot Nero. Yeah. Yeah. Whereas this one is 60%, about 60% Pinot Nero, Pinot Bianco, and a little bit of Chardonnay in here as well.
Okay. Yes, I think that's correct.
Yeah. So this is really delightful, though, as you can see in the glass. This really pretty salmon pink color, and so I know you've been making this one like for a long time too.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And we have to make, you know, now the world is going crazy for the Prosecco Rosé. And to be honest, I have to say that we are collecting quite a good awards and scores that helps. But we want to keep the tradition because again, Ruggeri is, we are, yes, tradition, of course, with an open-minded. So we were going to continue to make the Pinot. The Rosé di Pinot, because you know that I'm sure you know, you can see from your stores that the people are enjoying more and more rosé. Doesn't have to be. So also coming from the still Prosecco, the still rosé, maybe from the Provence region, they are now more educated and maybe they are trying also the sparkling version of rosé. So we want to keep also the tradition of making the Pinot. It's going to change a little bit the packaging. Because we want to put it on the Selezione line together with the Geloro, and it's going to be ready probably for let's say in the fall because it's a longer Martinotti method that we use because the Prosecco Rosé has to stay 2 months in autoclave in the tanks. We want to make that's also by law. So
right. So will you change the bottle, Laura? Will it look more like the Geloro bottle then?
Tell you too many secrets, but let's say yeah.
Okay.
Because it's not going to be an entry level rosé like it's our style. I'm not saying it have to be super expensive because you need to find the right price point because we also have to sell it. But we want to put it in a selezione, and also the production will be not millions of bottles, but it's going to be like a niche product. So we'll see. Tell you more. Our winemaker will let me because you know it's really great.
This is again like a really fresh style of spumante for me. There's a lot of really nice floral notes in here. You know, some of the red berries that are coming through, and
absolutely. And this one has more Pinot Nero than the Prosecco. So yeah, it's that's why a little bit note of cherry, and there's a stronger body too, because the percentage of the Pinot Noir is Pinot Nero, it's higher.
Yeah, yeah. My friend James is watching, and he says it's good for it's a good food pairing flexibility, and
Yeah.
really good Indian foods. So a bit of a
And
spicy note to some foods. So
absolutely.
so I think this would be a great summer wine for anybody that wants like something sparkling and something rosé. Check this one out. It is right now on sale for $22.99. Regular $26.99. And again, the value of these wines, I think, are just phenomenal for the quality. So please keep that in mind when you're purchasing your sparkling or your prosecco. Yeah, fabulous, awesome. Thank you a lot.
Grazie.
Yeah.
It's good that you say, because again, prosecco is very competitive, and educating people and consumers, I think, is fundamental. Because on what you are just sharing with everybody, everybody should know, because there is still a lot of confusion, a lot of private labels, and for people like us that want to continue our philosophy, the quality, the image, the history, giving a message of something, not just, oh, it's a name, it's a prosecco, and drink it. There is a lot behind the label, and this is our point, and we need to communicate this message, to share this message. And people like you, thank you very much, because this is what we need. So,
well, my manager bugs me all the time. He's like, "Oh, prosecco," and I'm like, "Don't knock prosecco. Do not knock prosecco."
I'm just joking.
Yeah. So, now we're moving on to Giustino B. So, would you say that this is perhaps a bit of a flagship wine for you? This is, people for here, people that want a special occasion prosecco. This is always the one I recommend. And I don't know why, but people sort of associate a higher price with quality. In this case, this one is regular $39.99, on sale right now for $33.99. So, I mean, a heck of a deal for an amazing, amazing quality prosecco of the Giustino B. So, obviously named after your founder.
Yes.
So what is special about this one? Is it a selection of grapes? It is a specific area, like a smaller plot of land?
Or you just said it's everything in one bottle. So all these components go in that bottle. So it was, and it's also, well, now you have the bottle, of course, it comes with a wrapping, so it's also a nice gift. The history of this Giustino B, it's basically part of the pillars of the winery. So it was an idea of Giustino Bisol together with Paolo that wanted to do something special. So it was, I'm talking about 1995, and that's where they decided, okay, we have to do something, like you say, a flagship. So they selected only the best part of Valdobbiadene, and it's basically the area of Sacol and Santo Stefano, small vineyards from these growers that they discuss with these growers for a long time. It's not that they decide, okay, let's do this and that in 2 minutes. So it was a long process, talking with our growers, consulting with them, and at the end they choose this special area. And it was, let's say, to celebrate the 50 years of the Giustino being in this world, our founder. It was a celebration to our founder. So it was just meant to be for that vintage. But it was so a success, then, okay, let's do it also next year. And then it was still a success. So since then, we have Giustino B, and now it's what, 2021. So we had, it's really one of our most popular prize winner, because for 11 times we have the 9 times with this wine, but 11 from Gandaro Rosso. We have the Trebicchieri. We are collecting very nice reviews. So, and what is special? Special is, again, the soil, the selection of the grapes, because it's all hand-picked, and then the method. Usually, this is a method that we use more or less in all our sparkling wines, but we make a longer fermentation in the autoclave, in the tanks. So it's, and it's basically makes about 6 months of fermentation in the tank, that usually you don't see that in Prosecco. Because there is also this idea that Prosecco has to be as fresh as possible, otherwise it's gonna die. It's not true. Because if you use the good base, if you use the good yeast, if you have a very soft method, the wine rests on the yeast and gives you a much softer perlage, where you see the bubbles are very delicate, very small, and this is how the Prosecco should be. Now, because we have to make it, with the container is waiting outside, it's too fast. And sometimes doing it in a too fast way, it becomes just a sparkling. I'm talking about the mass producers. And I have, it's good that when people try this wine, they know the story, because only if you know the process, you understand some points of this wine. Otherwise, it's hard also to understand, but it's definitely our winner. I have to say that. An extra dry, so as a good, because let's say that at that time, extra dry was also the most popular version for Prosecco.
Yes.
Now, going towards the brut, the extra brut, but it's been in the last years. Extra dry at that time was the most popular, and we want dry and extra dry, and we want to keep it that way, because it's very fruity, clean, fresh. But again, the perlage, it's very, very delicate. It's not like drinking a Coca-Cola, you know, that
the big bubbles. Yeah, it's beautiful. And I often hear, well, Prosecco is Prosecco is Prosecco. I mean, it all tastes the same. No, it doesn't. And I am the first one to, I've done some Prosecco tastings where I've compared different Prosecco, different sweetness levels, different quality levels, and you can actually tell the difference. And this is this is absolutely stunning. Like, this is a stunning, stunning Prosecco. So this kind of is a good segue for us to talk about the Rive. So I noticed that there's no Rive specifically for Ruggeri. You do have the Cartizze, of course, which is the only subzone in the Dobbiadene, the highest level, the highest peaks of the hills. Very, very expensive land, very few vineyards on it. But Rive is sort of this, just a little bit underneath the Cartizze. So, this does not have that Rive level on it. Why doesn't Ruggeri have any Rive?
Because it's more, it is already a Rive.
Yes, okay.
We don't want to call it Rive, because sometimes we change, because Giustino B, like Vecchie Viti, they are both the success of different components put together. So sometimes we need to switch maybe from another closer vineyard and not to use that specific vineyard for the next harvest, because it's not the super top. So if you call it Rive, it has to be that Riva. It's not that you can put other things. So it's a philosophy. It's because, again, it's already Rive. Everything is Rive in Valdobbiadene. Rive is even smaller area inside another Riva, but it's a choice. That's
right. Okay, so I guess basically that was my question. So you could call this a Riva, but you see some of these Prosecco producers that specifically have that on their label.
I know it's more. I haven't seen much outside of Italy, and because I think it's a lot of also bureaucratic stuff to call it Rive, and okay, just forget it. And but I know there are some wineries that are very focused in the Rive. So far, it's not what we want to do. Maybe in the future, let's say Santo Stefano could be also more dedicated river, but I don't know. It's not one of the priority right now. So
Yeah. So this one has, I think, slightly more residual sugar than the regular Gelato, I think,
yes,
correct,
yes.
Laura? Yeah.
Gelato is around 16, I think, and this should be 17. It's not that huge difference, but it's because both are extra dry. But the
Yes,
complex,
still in that dry category. Yeah.
the Giustino B comes really from that specific soil because it's very clay, very mineral, and the selection of the grapes. Also the timing of the harvest, because if you choose the wrong moment, it's a disaster. So the acidity has to be correct. A lot of things have to be at the right place to okay, this is Giustino B. So it's not something, while Gelato, it comes from a bigger area. So it's basically the grapes that make the difference in the wine.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, this is very delicate. It's very floral. It's very fresh. So do not mix this with anything, people. Just drink it by itself.
Please, that was a very clear message. Yeah, you have other wines if you want to mix, but Giustino
Yeah.
B.
Not that one. Yeah. Just toast something really fabulous with that wine. So, Susan brought me a sample of the Vecchi Viti, and so this sort of brings us into our conversation about old vines and
Yes.
sustainability, and I think most of us don't think of Galera as having old vines at all. So so let's talk about this and why this particular product. Why did Ruggeri decide to make something like this? Let's get into this here.
Well, Vecchie Viti, it's a smaller production. It's very small. If in Giustino B we produce and Giustino B is also small, considered Prosecco volumes. Giustino B we make about 60,000 bottles each vintage. Vecchie Viti is 5,000. So it's really a super niche because it comes only from the Vecchie Viti, old vines. So a very peculiar job that Paolo did, and because Paolo likes the tradition, and it was his idea, and why don't we give value also to this old vine, and it was a very deep research again together with our growers. So these vines have more or less, let's say, between 100 and 80 years old. So about something big.
That's very significant. Yeah, it's very significant.
And if you see these vines compared to the new one, it's like I don't know. It's a mixture of admiration and sorrow, because they like struggling. Sometimes they are very close to the soil. Because it's a different method because they are old. So, and all the growers have to give very, very special care to this kind of vine, because they can get illness, because they are not strong as the younger one. But you see that, and we mark that specific old vine with a band saying Vecchie Viti. People collect the growers with a basket, and they bring then the grapes into the winery in Valdo di Adene, and that is a very specific vinification. So, but we are talking about 100 years old vine, and the most traditional and oldest part of Valdo di Adene. And you know that especially that area is being now UNESCO heritage. So it became, I think, 2 years ago. It was awarded as UNESCO heritage. So
that's astounding. I'm sure. I think you have some pictures of these old vines on the website. Very, very gnarled, old, thick trunks.
Yes, very specific team of experts outside because again, this is something very special, and is Simon Intensich, and we have a project with them that they come and follow up all the process, and it's expensive because you know there are a lot of people taking care of these old vines, but when you taste the wine, you see that it's definitely worth it, and you need to be special if you want to be recognized as one of the leader of Prosecco, one of the oldest, the more traditional. You need to do something special. And again, the tradition that goes on and on. Otherwise, everything is the same.
Yeah.
And
no, that's very good. Yeah.
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 And
setting yourselves apart, essentially.
Exactly. And we are also one of the few wineries that can do the verticali, especially with Giustino B. Sometimes we have 10 vintages. We had people, some journalists the other day, everything was allowed by COVID, the rules. And so we tasted Giustino B dated 1998. Of course, the wine is different because it doesn't have the same freshness of the new one, but it was okay, no problem of oxidation, no changing of colors. So again, we go back to the same old principles. If you work with criteria and with good head, at the end you win because again it is a decision. It's expensive, but it makes the difference. Absolutely.
Is this available in market, Susan? Okay, so yeah, so this is available in market. We do not have it in the store at the moment, but if it's something that you're interested in, please come and talk to me, and we will set you up with some Vecchi Viti. Fabulous wine. This is in the Brut style, so this is drier.
Esatto.
Yeah, drier than the Gialloro and the Giustino B. And I find that Proseccos in the Brut category have just a little bit of a bigger bubble in your mouth.
Yeah, and this is definitely much drier. This one is around 8 grams per liter. So we were talking about 16 and 17 for the Giustino B. Now it's really because 8 it is dry. No, but that's the way.
Very special.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. But again, if you want to use the Gialloro, let's say it's more for everyday use.
Yes.
We are talking about something special, and it's not over expensive because it's not a champagne price for sure. But if you look at the average, you say, well, why? What is this? Because you go in a higher shelf price point, but I think it's worth it. Maybe buying less is more, right? So buying less, but quality.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's part of what is the appeal for Prosecco is you can get, a really fabulous taste and a bubble without paying the price of the champagne prices, that really start at $50. But, talking about something special. Oh. Yes. We also have this. So we're not going to open it today because I have done a tasting on this before, and I think if you go back into the archives, you could probably find my tasting on this. So the Cinqueanni, and this has been very successful for us here at Everything Wine and More. In fact, we are the only store that has some in stock right now. I think so. I think we have about 5 bottles, and we have put this on sale as well. So if you're looking for a really special Prosecco, try the Cinqueanni. I think the story is fabulous, and the packaging. I mean, you've got this great box, right, with this little bed that your bottle comes in, and this really great explanation in both Inglese and Italiano about the story.
You need to have an explanation. Otherwise, again, if they look at you like they see the price of Giustino B, here you're going to have an attack. So, of course, you need to explain the story because this wine, again, another idea of Paolo. he chose the vintage that he thought it was the best. So it was, I think, 14, if I'm not wrong. And this is really a very lungo Martinotti method. So this wine, 4 years of autoclave. That's why it's called Cinque Anni. That means 5 years, because you start from the harvest until the end. So it's basically 5 years. And I don't even know if you can. It is a prosecco because it's a glera and it's a say area, but I think it goes outside the category because it opens up a world that you would never expect from 5 years. Are you crazy? But for me, I like all Ruggeri prosecco because I believe I know the quality, I know the family, and I'm not a long time with Ruggeri, but I know Ruggeri forever because I am from the area, and they've been in this world since ever. But Cinque Anni, it's something unique. It's just a combination of that special because it's not that we make Cinque Anni every year, like Giustino V. That still sometimes okay, we check if it's okay or not. But to have a prosecco, a glera that can last that long in the autoclave, and then at the end to give you that kind of result, it has to be again a combination of great components. Otherwise, at the end, you were scared because you didn't know how after that such a long time the wine would have turned out. But I hope you can have a chance to guys to taste it. Because it's a unique wine. It's something between. It's not champagne, of course, because it's a different method, but it's very, very pleasant. It's very soft, and it has a little bit difference. It's not that super fresh that you will expect from a young, of course, from a young prosecco. But has different characteristics that it's hard for me to explain it because it's hard to believe. But when I try it, I say, okay, this is an outsider. Sure.
But it's true. You know, you have to really, embrace the story and embrace this idea, right? And I think, I say kudos to Ruggeri for doing something like this, right? I mean, the only company to do something like this, actually, and this has been, like I said, this has been very successful in our store. You know, for people that really want a very special occasion wine, but they want a prosecco. They don't want champagne; they want a prosecco.
Yeah, because prosecco still has that lightness.
Yes.
Because I don't like to compare champagne with prosecco because they are two different. And one is one thing and one is the other. You have to appreciate wines for what they are. Prosecco, again, is a simple grape to enjoy fresh and easy drinkable. Champagne is another word. But this one, I don't want to say is something in the between because, again, that is Charmat method, but it still has that lightness and the easy drinking that you don't have to with the champagne because champagne it's heavier on you, and prosecco, if you drink one glass, you are ready to drink the second one. So that is the easy drinking of the prosecco.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I can't believe, Laura, you're still calling it the Charmat method. Come on, you're Italian. Martinotti.
All right, Martinotti, you are right. You know the story, right? That we fight with the French because it was Charmat, Martinotti at the end. It was Charmat that, so Martinotti is still the Italian method. So you are
right. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Right. That's good. I like to have a hard time. Yeah. But people don't know Martinotti, and it's also a long name, and like Valdobbiadene, it's.
Yeah, I know, Valdobbiadene. It took me a long time to be able to say that.
Say it in a perfect way. It's just a long word, but it's we have to. The more you drink the Valdobbiadene, the more you learn the word. So
that's true. But then if you have to add Conegliano onto the end of it too, oh my goodness, that's even more.
Let's just stay on Valdobbiadene. Not that Conegliano is not, but it's too complicated. So
Yes, yes, agreed. So this one is on, we've put this one on sale too. We've decided to add it to our sale price. It's regular $81.99. Again, just a great price for a special occasion, on sale now for $69.69. So all of the wines are available here at the store other than the Vecchi Viti. So they're on sale for another week yet. So please come in and purchase your bottles and sit down and do this tasting with us at your leisure. It's going to be on our IGTV channel forever, so you can watch it whenever you want. So I just want to say, Laura, thank you again for joining me today.
absolutely.
Thank you for talking about Prosecco. Thank you for educating us all a little bit more about Prosecco and Glera and Valdobbiadene. And yeah, may we all drink lots of Prosecco.
I think that is the best. Now Easter is coming and we need to have a good mood because we are tired of all this sadness. So and drink Prosecco, enjoy with your family. And again, it's a very lively and fresh wine. And we need to celebrate people and drink.
I agree. Bubbles make us happy. So we need to drink more of them. Yeah.
Excellent. And mille, Marcia, for doing this and for being such a great fan of our Ruggeri wine and Prosecco in general.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Say hello to everybody there.
Okay, I will. You too. Ciao.
Yeah, ciao, buona Pasqua.
Anche a te, buona Pasqua.
Okay. Ciao, ciao.